Okay, we are live.
Okay, this is the March 24, 2021 Board of Estimate and Taxation public hearing on the fiscal year 2021-22 operating budget. Madam Clerk, would you mind calling the roll?
Mayor Rilling,
Present.
Mr. Abrams,
Here.
Ms. Brown,
Here.
Chairman Camacho,
Here.
Mr. Freyer,
Here.
Mr. Jelleret,
Here.
Mr. Kasimis.
Here.
You have 7 present. You have a quorum.
All right, fair enough. This is, as I indicated, the public hearing meeting in connection with the operating budget. Mr. Mayor, I believe you may want to say a few words at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, thank you to the Board of Estimate and Taxation for working so diligently and so hard to try to put together a budget that will serve the citizens of Norwalk well. It's been a very, very challenging year, as we all know, and difficult decisions have had to be made, and we've tried to do the best to put together this budget. Just recently, I asked every department head in the city of Norwalk to reduce their budget, even though it was a very lean budget to begin with, by 1/2%, resulting in over close to $600,000 in savings, which some departments gave me the 0.5% that I requested. Others came in with a number higher than the 0.5. So I want to give them a lot of credit for taking a sharp look at their budget and trimming it where they felt that they possibly could. With that, I also recommended at the last VET meeting that we reduce the contingency side of our budget by $500,000, thereby freeing up approximately $1 million. I would like to suggest and like to have the Board of Estimate consider moving that savings over to the Board of Education side for the time being until we can look at what's going to be happening in the future. We all know that the American Rescue Plan has been approved by the federal government, and Norwalk stands to receive on the city side somewhere between $22 and $39 million, depending on how they decide to allocate the money. Also, on the Board of Education side, Norwalk Public Schools will be receiving a similar amount, perhaps not quite as much, but certainly a lot of money in the millions of dollars. Now, the unknown that we have before us is what restrictions will be placed on that money. How can it be allocated? History has shown us that when the federal government allocates funds for a specific reason, they generally put restrictions on the money on how it can be used. For example, we do know that on the city side, we cannot use that money to reduce our tax base. We can, however, use that money in a way we believe to keep taxes at a 0 increase, to flat rate our taxes. On the Norwalk Public School side, as I've read the information put out by the government, they can use this money in a variety of ways, at least some of which would include avoiding layoffs and also to reduce class size with infrastructures and other kinds of things. So we're hoping and we're cautiously optimistic that when all is said and done, that the money coming in will serve to fully fund any request and strategic plan that the Board of Education has, and also to keep the city taxes at a flat rate. We will be getting half of our money in this calendar year and half in the next calendar year. And we're hoping that we will have this information before us so we can make the final decision on our mill rate and our operating budget amount by May 3rd. We're hoping that we will have that information And so, as I said, we're optimistic that we probably will be able to make those decisions. So having said that, again, I want to thank the Finance Department. I want to thank all our department heads, and I certainly want to thank the Board of Estimate members for putting in their time and effort trying to put together a budget that is fair, that is equitable, and serves the citizens of Norwalk well. We recognize the fact that property taxes are the worst form of taxation. But we in Connecticut have no choice but to get our revenue from property taxes. And that makes our situation and our challenge very, very difficult indeed, and at times very painful. This is not an easy task. And we wish we didn't have to make decisions based on property taxes, but nevertheless, that's what we have before us. So again, thank you to everybody who worked so diligently, the department heads who trimmed their budgets at my request, and the Finance Department and the Board of Estimate. Mr. Camacho, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To start off the public comment section, there have been people who, there have been members of the public that have submitted written comments. The clerk, our clerk, Donna King, will read those comments. I believe there are 2 submissions in writing. And the citizens that submitted those statements have authorized that they be read and so Ms. King will be doing that. Thereafter, I believe there is there are a number of people that are waiting to make a comment at this meeting. I think there are 23 at the moment. So perhaps we can start with Ms. King reading the 2 comments that were submitted via email prior to this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is from Kristen Penta. Thank you for taking the time to listen. As a Norwalk resident and Norwalk Public School employee, I'm asking you to fully fund the Board of Education. Doing so has a direct impact on the social, emotional, and academic progress of the children of our great city. I'm also a very proud parent of a first grader in Norwalk Public Schools. This is likely my most important job. The story of starting kindergarten begins like most, being excited and nervous for the first giant step in a journey of lifelong learning for your child. It is quite an important one, as I'm sure you can agree. We want our son to be happy and at a place that would foster his development and champion his success. Every student, no matter what edge of town they hail from and what great Norwalk school they choose to attend, deserves the chance to receive a top-notch education. We are, after all, Connecticut's #1 city school district for 3 years running, which came from hard work and financial investment. All of our city schools need the entirety of their existing resources to continue to provide this level of education to our students. As a social worker and educator, it is always astounding to me that we look to cut resources that enhance life experiences, sharpen skills, and afford our greatest asset, our children, the opportunity to grow. It's exactly these resources and supports we found at Tracy Magnet. Tracy is a community of educators that not just speak, but believe that the development of a child's character is something really special. Tracy Magnet School embeds character education into its everyday way of life. It is communication amongst students and staff, and it is a modality for problem solving the most difficult tasks. Character education programming also affords hands-on service learning projects that integrate academic skills and character development through the robust community partnerships that exist within Norwalk. If funding is not given at the full ask, these experiences at Tracy and all of our other great schools are likely to not occur as effectively as they are now. We also know that resources are often in the form of people. It is the adults in the building that bring life to the supplies, resources, projects, and community connections that students across the city are lucky enough to interact with every day. I would be remiss if I did not say that my post within the Norwalk Public Schools is at Tracy Magnet School. As we learned more about Tracy Magnet's character education programming, experienced a warm welcome and sensed a strong, inclusive, and diverse culture at the school, it was clear that this was the school community that we wanted for our child, and someday soon his younger sister. As kindergarten came closer, there was a job opportunity at Tracy that centered around what we found most impressive about the school, working with teachers and staff to ensure the character development is at the forefront of the Tracy students' academic experience. People often say to me how nice it is that my son comes to work with me, and I respond, no, I go to school with him. Failure to fully fund the Norwalk Public Schools budget will not only have a direct impact on the progress and phenomenal culture created at Tracy, but within the school walls of our other great schools. In a school year, we are looking at growing student need due to a global pandemic. I sure hope we can remember what is at stake and is important when it comes to the education and success of our children. Mr. Manzi is timing, right, Mr. Manzi? Yes?
Yes, I am.
Okay. This second one is from Ed Phillip. Dear Board of Estimate and Taxation members and staff, I would like to express my concern of the proposed 2021-22 budget for the city of Norwalk. As a resident of Norwalk for the past 19 years, I find it unacceptable that the BET has decided it was in the best interest of the city and its taxpayers to limit the board to a 2% increase this year. I've read the arguments about why the decision is being made, but I don't buy it. The Board of Ed needs a 4.6 increase just to keep current service levels, and I support that. Forcing the schools to make cuts that will hurt children is normally unacceptable. However, after what the kids in our schools have dealt with for the past year, it is downright offensive. The pandemic has affected our children in ways we have yet to understand, both mentally and academically. And the adults in the room have decided to double down on those negative impacts and force the schools to make cuts to athletics and music. That doesn't sit right with me. While I appreciate the shrewdness of the BET, this isn't the year to do it on the backs of the children. Raise my taxes because the fallout of not supporting our young people will cost us far more than the $39 per year you are saving everyone by forcing these cuts. Lastly, I will leave you with this. It is insulting to me when the city side of the budget is increasing at a greater percentage than the Board of Ed, yet the city is trying to take a victory lap about how they are keeping my taxes down. Time and again, the leaders of the city have failed our children during this pandemic. Elections have consequences, and people whose children have been hurt by short-sighted decisions have long memories. Sincerely, Edward Phillip, 12 Burlington Drive, Norwalk.
Thank you, Ms. King. Mr. Manzi, I believe that there are folks waiting in the wings to speak. Perhaps you can begin calling on them.
Yes. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak. Please state your full name and address. What I will do is call on one person at a time, and I will unmute you. And you will also have to unmute yourself after I call your name. The first person is Justin Matley. Justin, you are allowed to talk. You have 3 minutes, please.
Hi, thank you very much. My name is Justin Matley, and I live at 4 Cindy Lane. I should also preface that I'm a stutterer, so just bear with me if I lose my my fluency as I go here. I'm also here in the support of education. I'm also here in the spirit of compromise, which seems to be occasionally a dirty word at times. I'm also speaking as a former music major, and I understand the music right now is sort of on the docket as having some challenges in this budget. And I'm someone who at a very young age was inspired by my music teacher, which led me to my degree, which translated into a very vibrant award-winning career in my 20 years. I live here in Connecticut. I own a business here in Connecticut, and I'm able to provide for my family of 4 here. I'm doing so. I'm very lucky enough to make enough money to pay ample taxes in our community and to provide artistic enrichment to my children through my own experiences. I'd also like to reaffirm some anecdotes from an op-ed that I authored a few weeks ago and just rehash a couple points on it. The budget that the superintendent and board submitted this year was quite lean. Outside of immutable expenses related to contracts, insurance, and pensions, it featured a 15% reduction in professional tech services and a 6% reduction in others. It featured a 2.5% reduction in supplies and materials, a 60% reduction in reorganization of the magnet program. It also featured a continuation of the reduction in sped cuts, having brought those services in-house. This is all in a year where both our student needs and our numbers continue to increase. And these operating expenses are not recoverable just by federal dollars. Those are only offering temporary services related quite specifically to the challenges of the past year. Lastly, I'd like to remind this board that education is an investment and one that the National Bureau of Economic Research and its study of Connecticut monetizes that investment of for every $1 a city invests into its education program, returning $20 on property values. In short, this benefits everyone, even those without children. It reduces crime. It allows for less need for welfare programs and applies less pressure on the healthcare system. I don't expect every monetary demand to be met here. I understand how it works. It's been a challenging year across the board for everybody, but I do hope that compromise in the eyes of this board remains a sign of political as well as operational success. I don't have to be in Norwalk. I choose to be here. Many of us do. And we owe that to your informed and empathetic decision making.
Mr. Matley, if you
I
could.
appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matley.
The next person we have is April. April, if you unmute yourself.
Good evening. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. I appreciate your time. I'm a Cranberry Cup mom, and my daughter's in the 5th grade. She will soon be leaving Cranberry for West Rock Middle School. I'm clearly in the know that Public Schools Board of Education has requested an overall budget increase of 4.6 from the City of Norwalk for the next school year, as I've attended and spoken at recent meetings. As I understand it, the 4.6 increase only covers contractual obligations and maintains programs in their current state, and it doesn't include any major upgrades or program additions. In contrast, the City of Norwalk has recommended only 2%. And as a result, the Board of Education was forced to create a list of possible reductions in the budget request of 4.6 was not fully funded. Specifically, one of those items to be reduced is the music district-wide in the amount of $71,791. These are proposed cuts to athletics and other teaching positions as well. Rumors being that the elementary band program might get cut. It just started. I'm here in support of keeping music in our schools. Since being introduced to Cranberry School in 2018, my daughter has participated first in strings and now in band. Her instructor, Guillermo Rojas, has instilled a love of flute in my daughter. I know that his impact is wide in the schools he instructs. He is engaging and fun and keeps kids motivated. During this last pandemic year, with only half a year under his belt in the spring of 2020 before schools closed, my daughter's goal was to learn the song Happy Birthday, knowing full well that birthday parties and celebrations would likely be squashed due to the pandemic. This goal to learn how to play Happy Birthday on her flute, which I add was also self-taught and motivated, brought smiles and joys to school friends, parents, and families we know. Her ultimate goal is to become a marching bear, as she will attend Norwalk High School. Whether that's a new school or the current school may still be under discussion, but her inspiration remains to be award-winning marching bear. Cutting this vital art of music from the budget should not be a consideration, but due to the differential of the Board of Education requested budget and the city's proposed funding, it might be. While I make my plea and remind everyone, the nationally recognized marching bears and award-winning marching band's legacy is on the line. Without music to carry students from elementary to high school, our legacy is in jeopardy. Please support the proposed budget offered by the Board of Education. I pause here to give the remainder of my time to my daughter, AJ.
Hello, my name is AJ Wennerstrom. I attend Cranberry Elementary School. I'd like to discuss the topic of why we should not cut school money for band and sports. Reason 1, kids come to play instruments and do competitive sports with friends without band. Without band, I would not enjoy coming to school every week without a chance to get away and enjoy the arts. For sports, I would not be as active. Kids would not learn sportsmanship. Gym can keep kids active, but it's more of work than fun. Reason 2, sports encourage non-athletic kids to be more active and take, for example, basketball or football. Sports improve physical qualities, and other sports include soccer, football, basketball, volleyball, etc. Use cooperation and teamwork, where regular classes in the school do not. At recess, my friends and I enjoy playing kickball and soccer. If the schools cut some sports money, then we would have to come up with new games that don't use physical equipment. Reason 3, band has a big selection of choices of what to play and learn from. Kids in school who take band enjoy learning new songs and writing their own. As a band student, I enjoy band practice because it is a chance for me to get away. Band is also relaxing to the mind and has a chance to calm me down. Without band, school would be a lot more stressful and kids wouldn't have a choice of learning how to play an instrument. Middle school does band because it gives kids an opportunity to express themselves in a more musical way. The problem with starting band in middle school is that we have lots of work and it would be pretty stressful to learn an instrument from scratch, while having piles of homework you need to take care of. Thank you for your time.
If you would oblige Julia to play Happy Birthday for whoever's next on the birthday list.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Mandy Singh.
Hi, yes, thank you for giving me the time to speak.
Mandy, if you can.
Oh, sorry, I'm here. I thought I had unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we could hear you.
Okay, yes. I am known by Mandy Singh. My legal name is actually Amanda Whitman. I live in Norwalk. I'm not sure if I was supposed to give my address.
Yes.
But I live at 73 North Steer Hill Road in Norwalk, Connecticut. My husband and I have lived there and been taxpayers for the last 12 years. And I am speaking to urge you to reconsider the current proposal and to give equitable funding to our public schools. The current proposal, where the city budget is increasing by 6%, but the Board of Ed budget is only increasing by 2%, is simply unacceptable. Please consider equitable funding for our public schools because it will increase our property values in the long run. It will decrease families moving out of Norwalk. It will promote our city so that more families want to move into Norwalk, and it will increase the success of all of our students. I would like to also note my fourth grader is in Cranberry, and he just started band this year. And I cannot imagine that the Board of Ed may have to cut the band program so that next year when he's in fifth grade, he won't be playing again. That might be the end of his saxophone career at only the fifth grade. And like April, I was hopeful that my son will go on to play in the marching band for Norwalk High. And I would hate for that future to be taken away from him by these cuts. My husband and I moved here before having children because of the proximity to my husband's job. I'll be honest, we were a bit wary of the state of the public school system, but we were optimistic that it would improve over time. Now that we have 3 children in the public school system, there have been times we've been tempted to move, but for now we've chosen to stay and become active members of the school community. I'm currently the PTO president at Cranberry and a member of the Cranberry School Governance Council. However, if the city will not invest in our public school system, families like mine will ultimately leave Norwalk. And what message does it send to our families? that you're considering increasing the city budget by 6%, but the education budget by only 2%. If this pattern continues, we will have no choice but to leave for a district that will properly invest in their education system. We love all that Norwalk has to offer. We believe that it could be the perfect place to make our forever home and see our children graduate someday from Norwalk High. If only you will properly invest in the public school system. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Diane Larissella. Diane?
Hello, good evening. I was one of the last people that came on, so I would like to be skipped and let the other people go in front of me, please. I literally just recently signed up after you had 23 people, so I ask that I wait till the end. Thank you.
All right, next we have Jason Penta.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, good evening. My name is Jason Penta at 55 Glenwood Avenue, and I'm the proud parent of a first grader at Tracy Magnet School. I'm also the parent co-chair for the Tracy School Governance Council. The SGC has prepared a statement that I'd like to share with you tonight. On behalf of the Tracy Magnet SGC, we respectfully urge you to fully fund the Norwalk Public Schools. A lack of funding will force the district to make difficult decisions, including teacher reductions and the potential elimination of all of the remaining magnet school funding. As you may be aware, magnet school allocations have already been reduced by 60% or $1.5 million in this year's budget. Elimination of the magnet school funds would have a devastating impact on the magnet school students, making it nearly impossible for these schools to deliver the unique, high-quality educational opportunities that have attracted so many families to Norwalk Public Schools. Tracy Magnet School is a National Blue Ribbon School and has been nationally recognized by Character.org as a school of character. To continue to offer a social and emotional curriculum as successful as this requires resources. We specifically utilize magnet funds for staffing and materials to support our special magnet classes for all students, such as character education, farm to school, and communications, as well as to help support our community service learning projects. These service learning projects help the students take the social and emotional skills they learn in school out into the greater Norwalk community to help make Norwalk a better place. Whether it's spending an afternoon sorting clothing at the community closet at the Smilo Life Center, creating a cultural diversity exhibit at Lockwood Mansion, or growing food to feed animals at the Maritime Center, these projects teach our children invaluable lessons about respect, kindness, and care for the greater community. Without the appropriate funding, these types of programs may not be available to our children. All of this at a high needs school with the highest elementary SPED percentage in in Norwalk, second highest English language learner population, and third highest free and reduced lunch population. And on the heels of an incredibly difficult year where all of our children need the resources and support to help overcome the learning gaps created by COVID. There's a reason why the culture and curriculum at Tracy Magnet School has attracted many neighborhood families back to Tracy, as well as drawing in families considering or currently enrolled in local private schools. We ask that you continue to support our school system and the unique opportunities it offers to the children of Norwalk by fully funding NPS and maintaining our position as the top performing school district in our peer group. Make no mistake, failure to fully fund the Norwalk Public Schools will have a direct negative impact on our students and the resources available to them. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Next, we have Theresa Rangel.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Theresa Rangel. Address is 255 Shattuck Road, Naugatuck, Connecticut. But I am the principal of Tracy Magnet School. I'm the proud principal of Tracy Magnet School, a school of character dedicated to the social emotional learning of all. I will be the first to admit that I am not much of a politician. I don't typically participate in these meetings or voice my personal opinions publicly. So my speaking tonight is special, and I do it for special people only. And those special people tonight are the 11,000 students who are trusting that the adults in charge won't forget them. I've read the newspaper and the blogs and the comments, and I will have to admit that there is some confusion. There's lots of talk about dishonesty, subterfuge, dollars, taxes, etc. And I see very little talk of this community's most precious asset, and that is its children. Last summer, the whole world watched in horror as a man was killed on screen in real time. We stood up in solidarity, and we said that we need change, that we want to fight the wrongs of the past, and that Norwalk as a community, we're going to work together to end systemic racism and the mechanisms of oppression. I'm here to tell you that a good education is the most powerful mechanism to end oppression. I am proof of it. 1 year later, we are speaking of dollars, taxes, misrepresentations, and the like. I ask you to remember the horror of what we saw last summer, the clear understanding in that moment that we must fight to make our world a better place for the children who count on us to do better because we now know better. Please fund the Board of Education budget. My children, our children, can't afford to have their opportunities taken away because some of the adults in charge can't see eye to eye, or perhaps could have benefited from attending our amazing school. They are watching, we are watching. Choose love, find a bridge, protect the most precious assets you have, our children. I thank you for allowing me to speak on the behalf of our children.
Thank you. Next, we have Carrie Maiya. And if anyone else would like to speak, please raise your hand electronically by clicking the raise hand icon, typically on the bottom of your screen.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you again for letting me speak. My name is Carrie Maiya. I live at 8 Nob Hill Road in Norwalk, and I'm a parent and a school governance council member for Wolf Pit. This message is on behalf of other parents like me and our SGC. The esteemed Board of Estimate and Taxation, our children are the future of Norwalk. To that end, we want to provide an education that propels them forward. One that includes math and literacy specialists to provide a solid foundation for all children. One that includes funding for arts programs, authentic learning experiences, including field trips and interactions with experts, and one that includes opportunities for children to play sports. Families who can afford tutors, teachers, and private trainers already have an advantage. We want the children of Norwalk to have equal access to these same academics and extracurricular activities. We are here this evening because we want a well-rounded education and a level playing field for our students, for all of our students. That begins with using our community dollars to fully fund the school budget as requested by Superintendent Estrella. These funds will provide opportunities for all Norwalk students. We can't close the gaps opened by COVID and provide our students with the same opportunities afforded to students from neighboring towns without the support of Norwalk. And specifically, we can't do that without the support of the Board of Estimate and Taxation. Thank you again for letting me speak.
Next, we have Stephanie Towers.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. My name is Stephanie Smith Towers. I live in 15 Indian Spring Road. I am speaking as the Rowayton School SGC parent co-chair, as a parent of twin first graders at Rowayton, and as an alum of the Norwalk Public School System. On behalf of the Rowayton School SGC, I would like to advocate for full funding of the Norwalk Public School budget. Over the past 7 months, Norwalk has positioned itself as a leader in returning to school safely. We can continue to be leaders in giving our schools and our children what they need to succeed. The impact of COVID on our children and community is still unfolding. To address these needs, we have to take the right steps and be prepared and flexible in dealing with the consequences and outcomes of the past year. With the current funding, our staff is able to meet the needs, the individualized needs of all students. We must do everything in our power to continue to not only meet their needs, but to accelerate learning for all children and in an equitable manner. Additionally, we don't know the needs of incoming preschool children. Many families chose to keep their children out of preschool this year, given the circumstances. Having less resources to meet this demand and the demand of the increased academic and social emotional needs of our children doesn't feel like good planning for our future success as a school system or as a city. There's a trend in Norwalk that we're seeing of increased housing. That also has a direct impact on the schools. There'll likely be more demand on the schools because of the influx of families. We have an opportunity to position Norwalk as the place to move, a desirable part of Fairfield County where the schools and family are top priority. People who are making a choice about where to live look at school ratings and budgets. And if we're decreasing the budget, or even if it's perceived that we're decreasing the budget, people will look to other towns and our tax revenue might shrink over time. Leading up to COVID, we had made such great gains, and to take away money based on a pandemic, which is beyond our control, almost feels like we're punishing our kids. Let's pick up where we left off. Let's not set ourselves back. Help us hit the ground running and keep doing great things and thriving. We need Norwalk to do everything they can to support us in supporting our children. This is a big lift. Any hits to the budget are going to have an impact on our ability to continue the great work that we're doing as a city. There's an opportunity not just to survive during this time, but to thrive. Please help us continue to be a leader in Fairfield County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Dan Walsh.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for giving me your time today. My name is Dan Walsh. I live at 14 Lorena Street in Norwalk, Connecticut. I was born and raised in Norwalk, and my 15 minutes of fame came when I became Norwalk's only born and raised Olympic medalist. My wife and I chose to move back to Norwalk because of the diversity of our school system and the increased funding they started giving to it to create more opportunity for my children to be the next generation of world leaders. Norwalk, sports and music is what gave me an opportunity as a child of two uneducated parents to have both the audacity and the courage to be one of the best athletes in the world. By the public schools being cut, not only preventing that opportunity for children in the future, but also after a pandemic, you are going to cause an opportunity for families to want to leave our city versus come back. I'm a product of the public school system. My siblings are. My sister teaches kindergarten at my daughter's school, Naramake Elementary, and she and the teachers there have been heroes. We have demanded more of our teachers in this town than anybody else, except for maybe the essential services. And now we're telling them they want to fight with their hands behind their back even more. Norwalk has been educationally on the rise. I've also coached my sport of rowing here in Norwalk. I'm looking at trying to increase that opportunity for Norwalk citizens and stop seeing the towns next to us use our resources to enhance their children's well-being, not ours. And by limiting these resources, we will set ourselves back. Instead of making national champions, college scholarship opportunities, and future leaders, we will then be outsourcing that to our neighboring communities once again. So I implore the city to figure out a way to increase our children's opportunity, because I am tired of being the last Olympic medalist for Norwalk. And this is the town's opportunity to increase those opportunities by giving them sciences, by giving them arts, by giving them sports, giving them opportunity to shine and to use our resources to help our children, not others. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for keeping your comments under 3 minutes. Next, we have Sergio. Sergio, I cannot give you access. You're using an older version of Zoom.
Perhaps we can have Sergio submit his statement in writing via email, and perhaps Donna can read it later on.
Yeah, Sergio, if you like, you could submit your statement to D King, D as in dog, King at norwalkct.org. Thank you. Next, we have Heidi Alterman.
Hi, my name is Heidi Alterman. I live at 29 Sherwood Street in Norwalk, Connecticut. I am on the School Governance Council at Cranberry Elementary, and I also have a first grader there. I apologize for my awkward speech tonight. I'm going to bring up, at one of the previous meetings I was at, Councilman David Huvelman brought forth a motion. I believe it was said after Mr. Kitey's brought up his motion. He asked that the city give the Board of Education budget the 2.5% increase instead of just the 2%. I believe it takes 2.7 to meet contractual obligations, and Mr. Huvelman recommended at least having some kind of compromise and giving them the 2.5. I echo Justin Matley's statement earlier when he said, like, the word compromise. I have spoken to many people in different commissions and different committees, and it's puzzling to me that nobody really seems to talk about compromise. So I am asking, probably an unpopular thing, please could we revisit the 2.5% increase? I understand that things are tough. I also understand the families that they are trying to save money. It's an issue. Sometimes even $17, I suppose, could make or break somebody. I grew up in a pretty poor family. I'm really fortunate now, and I love the city that I live in. I do not love having to speak at meetings like this with 30 plus other people begging to fund our schools. I will do whatever it takes to get things done, as does it seem our new superintendent, Dr. Estrella. I think the city is really going to be benefited from her being here, and I see that she does look at other options like grant money. I've also been looking into grant money to come into Cranberry Elementary. I know our principal, Mr. Klein, our interim principal, Mr. Klein, has also been looking to rework how the money in the school is used so that we can have proper paras and things like that at the school. I'm wondering when other avenues are going to start looking into other means of funding. I appreciate everybody's time, and I just really hope that even just one person here thinks about it. I don't know Mr. Huvelman well, but I do know he put a lot of time and thought into his proposal, and I would love if anybody decided to look at that further. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Tyler Fairbairn.
Hi, good evening, members of the BT. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Tyler Fairbairn, 35 King Street. I just wanted to make two quick points. I echo the sentiments of so many of the parents who spoke before me, encouraging full funding of the Board of Ed budget. The first thing I want to touch on quickly, I'm a municipal grant writer and federal grant manager by profession. I know people talk about grants so often at these hearings and in the news, on the the Facebook pages. It's not that easy. Grants are incredibly competitive, and the money that we have coming in through the American Rescue Plan will almost certainly have a ton of strings attached to it. There are certain things you can and can't do. I'm trying to figure this out in the municipality I'm working in now to figure out how we're going to use this money to best serve the residents. And it's not a catch-all, right? You don't get a check and you get to plug all the gaps in your budget with it. So I would urge everybody to be extremely cautious and extremely conservative if you think that that is going to be the answer for the Board of Ed's budget shortfalls. It almost certainly will not. The second point I wanted to make, and this was a common refrain at the earlier meeting on this topic at the council level, it was how hard this year has been for everybody. And it absolutely has. If you are a senior on a fixed income, if you're somebody who's lost their job, if you're somebody who's gotten sick, if you're caring for someone who's sick, it has been almost impossible at times. But I cannot think of anyone that this has been harder on than kids. I don't know how many of you have kids in the school system now. I have two elementary school kids at Merrimack, and it is tragically, almost unimaginably horrible what they've had to go through since last March. Going to school in masks and not seeing your friends and not enjoying a normal childhood in a way that none of us can imagine, that none of us have experienced. It has been impossibly hard on these kids. And so to get to a point where we are now discussing what might get cut rather than what we're adding, what we're doing to improve their lives just a little bit is it's shameful, and it's kind of needlessly cruel for adults who have been there and have the ability, some more so than others, to budget, to make changes to your lifestyle, to accommodate a $20 to $50 tax increase. I don't want to dismiss that. That's a bag of groceries. It's a cell phone payment, but we can adapt to this. And these kids don't have a voice. Most of them are not on here tonight. Most of them are not able to participate in the political process. So, with all due respect to the adults among us who have been hit so hard by this, I beg you to think of the kids and kind of reconsider the whole idea of taking something away from them rather than kind of adding to what we can do to make their lives a little bit better. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Diane Laricella.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, my name is Diane Lauricella, 21 Blue Mountain Ridge Road. I really would have liked to have had the opportunity to review the budget review process on video in order to better prepare for tonight. But I would ask that you take a look at my comments over the last few years, because that is on recording. Tonight, I'll think of a different way to approach this. I ask that this Board of Estimate go back to the drawing board to find more opportunity for both savings and revenues. Please strive to keep taxes flat. I'm very happy to hear the wish or intent that this happens, because the city of Milford did it a few years ago, and they have terrific programs as well. They're a similar size to Norwalk. And I ask that you really look to keep things flat, because it has been a hard year for many of us who have lost jobs, seniors like the previous, and also parents who have had to stay home, and to the kids. I agree that the Board of Ed deserves more funding for its wonderful programs. However, there have been years of additional funds placed in. What is being discussed today is taking a percentage of an increase of what has been funded. And I really think I'd like to hear, maybe at the end of this public hearing, that someone from Board of Estimate or Mr. Datchewitz discuss the issue between the 6% needed for services that all of us enjoy versus 2%. I don't think that's a true analogy, and I think it's been misleading to many who are here tonight. But what I wanted to say is there is a way forward, and I like the word compromise. And I do think that the Board of Ed can be funded more if folks take a look at the following ways. Number one, these are just examples. Start with the revenue side of the page. Seek more public and private partnerships to pay for programs like music or sports. And this is something I've suggested for the capital side of the budget, and still I don't see it happening. I think that would help get us out of the hole we're in as far as funding really important programs like music and sports. Number two, increase enforcement fines, especially in terms of zoning. That is not happening. And the thing is, it's not a way to slam everybody. It would help, because if some folks were made, some owners were made an example of and given levied expensive fines, I think it would seek to increase the quality of life in places like South Norwalk, et cetera. Lastly, on revenues, it's increasing and having a very good grants program. With the current program, we've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants because we don't have a good system. Over the last several years, I am on record as suggesting that the grants program become full-time and goes to the Finance Committee. A little bird told me recently that that is being considered right now. I think that's a great move, but I want to make sure that we're not depending on many of our other departments to begin the process. I would like them just to help a true professional grants writer because we're paying them to do other services.
You're at 3.5 minutes.
I will wrap up. Then we have the savings side of the aisle, and that's where I'd like the parents to take a look at some of the line items in the budget instead of being general. That includes the fact that we need to scrub the NPS budget further, and they have not. They've refused to do so in two issues. Number one, creating electricity by making sure we have enough and more robust clean energy opportunities where we're paying less in electricity and indeed in other forms of fossil fuel. Number two, we do not have recycling in our schools. We are in violation of the state law. I have spoken on this for many years, and I thought I would speak tonight because we could save at least 50,000, and that would get us closer to the 70,000 that was cut for the music program. So I'm just saying that we need to take a look at the line items. On the city side, our Public Works Department is one of the few cities left in the whole state that is supposed to receive $17.50 a ton for our recycling. But our program is far not a robust program, and we are losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in materials being thrown in the trash that with a better program, with a better staff person assigned to it and better education, we would save tons of money, literally tons. I ask also that we consider savings in the electricity use in all of our city buildings. Unfortunately, no matter how hard I have tried and others, we are still not reducing our electric use by having a robust system of ground-mounted and roof-mounted solar panels. We have a few. I'm not saying we haven't explored it, but it is not robust, and we're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the reason I'm mentioning this, everyone, and I will close, is because with those monies we save, we could plug that money in to better funding the important programs of the Board of Ed. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one last person. The person that couldn't talk earlier, Sergio, is back on. Sergio, I'm going to allow you to speak.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Julie Mendez, and I have resided at 174 Wolfpit Avenue for over 10 years. I'm here to strongly advocate for music education, strings, band, and athletics, which is crucial and very important. I am a parent, and my children are my top priority. I am also a K-6 elementary certified teacher with degrees in psychology and education. I have a 2nd and 4th grader at Wolfpit School. I am a music parent. My son is now 9 years old and has played Suzuki cello since 2.11 years age at Teston Norwalk and now in Westport. This is his
Ms. Mendez, I don't think we can hear you at this point.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Continue, please.
Okay. He looks forward to music lessons. My daughter is in 2nd grade and is also looking forward to playing musical instruments in the strings and band. As a teacher in Bridgeport, my classroom was a total learning model which incorporated music at a young age. I promise you that there are tremendous benefits of music education, psychologically, mentally, cognitively, better listening, spatial intelligence, better self-confidence, higher imagination. It teaches discipline in a nurturing and positive way, pattern recognition. Music is truly for the mind, body, and soul. Please remember that Newark children deserve a high-quality music education. Thank you for your time and attention.
Okay, Chairman, that was the last person. If there's anyone else, please raise your hand now. Otherwise, we can close public comment.
Okay, there being no additional speakers at this public hearing concerning the 2021-22 operating budget. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, Mr. Freres moved to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? This hearing is adjourned, and I thank you all for attending, and thank you all the members of the public who took the time to provide their thinking on the issue of the budget for this year. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.